Joyce has a question. Right there, see it?
I don't know if you're going to like it, but I can ask a question.
Just a seat I don't like. You know where that thing is on the black bench?
In some ways.
The back bench. Hold on.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I feel like
Wow.
in some ways the rest of the world has joined me in this strange life I'm living, not knowing where I'm going to live the next week and all, the craziness of my life. So now I feel everybody's kind of.
But remember, honey, I know we're gonna let everyone go off, but just look at these common statements. My life, yeah. Yes.
Looks like the speaker's back on, so I'm gonna tag out for a bit. I will be conscientious of my noise upstairs.
Oh, that's great.
You as well.
What happened there? I think he's talking to somebody else. I'm going to mute all. So, Joyce, you're going to have to unmute yourself when you talk again. I'm muting all.
So, Joyce, it's not you. It's just the commonality of the language. So, we go off and we just make an assumption that it's our life, yes, and that everyone else is joining in our life. And usually that goes dismissed and we get into the particulars, yeah. But let's just look at the foundational stuff, yeah? Because there's such an assumption that there's a someone, and it goes unnoticed until, like, the horses are out of the barn, yeah? And then things like this turn into a therapy, which is fine if that's what the title is, yeah? Now, I can't do a talk the way we usually do it because the screen doesn't motivate me. So we have to have questions to prime the pump, yeah? But the idea of a question is fine, but sooner or later, you're going to have to realize or entertain the idea that the answer is what's asking the questions, yeah? To avoid that it's the answer. Yeah? All right, now continue.
Do you know how to unmute yourself, Joyce?
Am I on?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I was listening to last time you were on the Zoom. I missed it. But anyway, you were talking about how we can't use non-duality to all of a sudden say, oh, this is a terrible thing that's happening, but I'm not for real. And this is kind of boosting our game here because now we see this as a movie. And this is exactly what happened. Remember my unfortunate event with the police that
Yes.
you don't have to now? Okay. You said the exact same thing to me. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. Life had fallen apart. I didn't want to be Joyce. So all of a sudden there's this nice way out, which is, it's not for real anyway. Now it really feels good to say all that. So anyway, you kind of use this as another event to make this easy for us to do.
Well, the thing is, see, the wanting to get out is assuming there's someone that's in, yeah?
Yeah.
So the wanting to get out that signifies an escape is really reinforcing the self-prison in a sense. You have to see it. It's a little move, yeah?
I did see it clearly before. I see it now. I see myself doing it, but I
Yes,
didn't see it.
but remember, it's not you doing it, yeah? So that which is doing it doesn't need to be rehabilitated. It's waste. It's a waste of time because it's got traditional, stubborn, reinforced habits, yeah? Just like the idea of trying to convince that which feels like it has free will that it doesn't have any free will. It's pointless. You feel like it throughout the day. Like instead of getting a double shot espresso, I had a mocha, yeah? So there's an assumption and just a lazy taking it for granted that the system keeps reinforcing the system. It's not about rehabbing the system. It's seeing you're not the center of the system. That's all. Yeah? Yeah, so the whole idea of the who am I is to ask before, to put the who am I before my life, not way down after the statement of my life where you're in trouble. And then you want to throw who am I there to try to get out of the trouble. We want the who am I to before to be before the my life. Yes?
I mean, just like people do with religion, you know, they get sick, all of a sudden they get religious, and I mean, it's the same.
We're trying to get out of, yes, it's just that it's the programmed reaction. But the thing is, it would be fine if it works. Yeah? But it's it's like we were talking about today, knowledge, yeah? So in AA, there's a statement, self-knowledge avails us nothing. Yeah? But then in other contexts, knowledge is very valuable, yeah? So if you have knowledge of self, knowledge is very valuable. If there's self-knowledge, it avails you nothing. Yeah? You see the role? It's us, yeah? If us is before, and then us is looking at self, it's knowledge. If the us is identified as self, then all knowledge claimed by self avails us nothing. You see the role that we play?
None.
Or yes, none, and then a huge role. Yeah, because there's a meaning that's being given to everything. Yeah. Now, the idea of trying to just give new meanings is just another old meaning giving to everything. Just see you're not that which is giving meaning to things. Yeah.
But it's so much more fun to do that.
Oh yes, but then you have to get the dualistic consequences. Yeah.
Another drama, another part of the soap opera.
Yes, you get a whole lot of Joyce when you don't want to have a whole lot of Joyce. Yeah, what's one to do?
That's the question, Paul, and I know you're not going to give me an answer, so I won't even go there.
Well, you are the answer.
Yeah.
But can I ask something to follow up on Joyce?
Yes, sure.
Because I've been chairing these AA meetings for a while, and then I started watching your videos, and then some of it started kind of coming out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a
Were
lot
you
of
in the bathroom?
Huh?
Were you in the bathroom at the time?
No, I was in front of a bunch of people at the time. But some, instead of Big Book coming out, it was like Paul's idea of self started coming out. This idea that instead of the bondage of self being myself being bound up, it's more like there's this self thing, like you were talking to Joyce about. So.
Well, they're not mine. Let me just throw this in there. They're not my ideas. They're open source. Yeah.
I know. I got them from you. I'm a weirdo. I listen to you around the clock sometimes.
Yeah.
And this idea, it was coming into AA was the first mind blown thing. But then after being sober for a while and realizing that I'm still out there, you know, as the action figure exclusively in my mind. And then becoming aware of the fact that I'm not exclusively the action figure, you know, became something. All of a sudden, I'm like, when the early days in AA, I'm wanting to run around and tell people.
Yeah.
You know, the good news in AA meetings is that, like, this whole thing about self is misunderstood. It's not you. It's, you know, and to check in with what just something else than what you're perceiving this as. Anyway, you said it so much better, and I just want to get it in my head. It's not being self-aware, it's being aware of self. Is that how you put it? Or
Well, you're never aware of self, but you're aware of selfing. Yeah? See, there's no self to be aware of. It's the unawareness of selfing that produces the sense of self. Yeah? So the awareness is not of selfing, there's just awareness. But let's say there's the awareness of selfing. You see that the noun the head is taking itself to be is a made up out of verbing, yeah? So that's why we have the word selfing. We don't say have the word self. We have the word selfing because selfing is an activity that's being used to imply a one, yeah? Now, as soon as example, the selfing implies as a self. When it works, the self now gets guilty about doing the selfing. You see? That's the bondage of self. To that, what you said.
Yeah. So, but go ahead. I mean,
Yeah. So, can I ask you something now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So when you were talking with Joyce and talking about the self being first and that's reality, but the self afterward isn't, are you talking about two different selves?
Well, I wasn't, yes, the idea, well, I wasn't saying the self. This, in some terminology, self is everything, yes?
Right, that's
It's
the
the
first
end or be all. I'm not using it that way. I'm using it as selfing, as the product of selfing, yeah. Yeah? So self-knowledge, the self I'm talking about is the product of selfing. And knowledge of self, the self I'm talking about is the knowledge of selfing.
That's like the action figure when you say
It's
knowledge.
like it's not the action figure. The action figure represents mental processes. Yeah?
Right,
The action figure is how the mental processes are pictured.
right.
Yeah. So the doing, the verb of doing, which is happening, is being noticed by the mental state. The mental state claims the doing to imply the doer. Yeah? So the idea of being a noun is derived from the verb. But when the mental state works it, it presupposes the noun to be before the verb. So now you believe you're the doer of all the doing that happens through you. We use the simple examples of like going back east, and I hadn't been there for a while, and someone who knows me saw me, and he says, "Hey, Paul, you're growing your hair." So I said, "Yeah, I'm growing my hair." And I have a lot of pride about it. It looks pretty good. I just shampooed it. And he was going bald, so I said, "Hey, bro, you're not doing too well with the growing of the hair." And I tell him about a hair growing meeting, and I say, "Come on, join us, and I bet you after a few months you'll get about an inch more of hair than you used to get." And you could go on and on and on, but basically, I have nothing to do with the hair growing, yeah? But the language, it sounds like I'm growing my hair, yes? So the growing the hair is claimed to imply the one, and now the one, in an absurd leap, says, "I'm growing the hair." Yeah? And then the language, the lazy language, reinforces this idea all day. That I have a lot to do with a lot of shit I have nothing to do with. Yeah? So all there is this isn't Paul's stuff. I'm just I'm just sharing what's come through. All there is verbing. Verbing, verbing, verbing. That's why I say selfing. Selfing is verbing. It's the act of being identified as self. Yeah? The self isn't a noun. It isn't a thing you're identified with. The mental state is in the act of being identified with an idea. Somebody. I don't see who that is.
I think that might
So
be
in
just
the
noise.
example you gave, it's that hair is my hair. You would say hair is growing.
Yeah, hair is growing, yes. All I do is don't cut it. Yes?
Right.
You think that's absurd, it's funny, but you're listening to tons of the same examples with a lot of seriousness all day.
No, this is good. That makes sense.
So there is no selfing is a verb that's being used to imply a noun. Yeah? So there's the verb, noun. The verb, and then it implies a noun. The noun suddenly is presupposed before the verbing. So now instead of recognizing, we have the example in recovery. Everyone I know who is a real addict and a real alcoholic has a strong suspicion that they were possessed or something took them over, or they were dancing with a gorilla and they're not going to stop until the gorilla wants to stop. they're still stuck in the old logic that they're the doer of everything, but it was an absurd stretch to think I did all that shit under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Yes? So we have, many of us in life have ample evidence to dispute this freaking idea that we're the doer. You put some cocaine in my system now, I'd probably be doing a whole lot of different shit than I was doing about a half an hour ago. Yeah? But the mental state will keep claiming. No matter how absurd it is, it keeps applying the same claiming. Yeah? And what happens is people, without having the possibility of it could be different, seeing that what's driving them crazy is not of them, it's not them, they're still suffering tons of guilt and shame based on the claiming of past behaviors under the influence. Where's the relief? It's all conditional relief. It's so much conditional relief that the relief is contingent on the problem. Yeah? The addiction is still winning in a sense. Yeah. So yeah, I don't care about all I'm just putting ideas out of there because I see a lot of how most of us are living is a form of slavery. We want to get out of something we truly believe we're in, and we're confused why nothing works, and we never question, are we in it? Yeah? Being in the trouble is just taken for granted completely, and you have tons of people co-signing it. Yeah? And then everyone's swapping ways to try to get out of it. Yeah? And then they fail us. They keep failing us, so instead of ditching the system, we just make it an extreme version, a radical version. We try to hybrid it with Buddhism and non-duality or Tantra and something, constantly making all these things without looking at the problem, which is the primary number one. The idea of being the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the haver, the loser. Yeah? The true mathematics is the primary number is 0, 0, nothing. I'm just throwing it out there. If your way worked, I'd listen to you. I would. But I listen to tons of people. I don't want what they have. They have a conditional things completely based on their behavior. They've got to practice fucking constantly, be vigilant, this and that. I think it's insane to me. Yeah? If this is true, the basic assumption of non-duality is we're assuming that there's a certain sense or a belief that you are what you're looking for. Yeah? Or that you're a lion, let's say. Yeah? Without that assumption, we're wasting time talking to the sheep all day. Because the sheep can't get that they're a lion because they're in the getting of themselves being a sheep. All they can do is translate it into I can become like a lion. That's not the message. The message is we're trying to get through the sheep, not to the sheep, through the sheep to the lion. Now I humbly believe completely you're a lion. Yeah? So I'm not wasting any time talking to Joyce or Les or Bill or Paul. I'm trying to talk through Joyce, Les, Bill, and Paul to what you are. Because the lion already knows. It doesn't know it's a lion. It can know it's a sheep, but it's being a lion. It's being a lion. Yeah? And once you get a free sample, it tells you it's always been the case. No matter how many years you've been up the sheep's ass, you're a lion. Yeah? In other words, the freedom is before the bondage. It's prior to the bondage. It's not a consequence or a reaction to bondage. It's before the bondage. It's inherent. It's available at all times, right where you are. There's no conditions or requirements necessary to complete to be available to it. You are it, yeah? You can't apply that to anything else. Man, I can apply seeking to get a good latte. I can. I can apply seeking to buy a pair of pants. I can apply all this, but I can't apply seeking to what is. If I am that, yeah, I can't use it to find itself. I can't use the Buddha to find the Buddha. The way the Buddha hides itself from itself is looking for itself. Yeah, the correction isn't to Paul. That's where the correction will be observed. It's to the Buddha. We're attempting to talk to the Buddha and tell the Buddha, hey, Buddha, you can't use yourself to find yourself. It's very clear to the Buddha. Yeah, it's not clear to Paul, and I don't care if it's clear to Paul. Paul is unnecessary for it to be clear to. Seriously. Paul is going to be begrudgingly observing something has changed, and Paul, without being the cause of it, is going to notice it's traveling lighter, and humility will set in as Paul. Paul will notice that something's doing for Paul, through Paul, as Paul, that Paul can't do for itself. Hallelujah. Yeah. Now the horse is in front of the cart. Blue is blue, red is red, clarity is clear, confusion is clear. Yes?
You want to go?
Yeah.
There's a raising of a not hand by not Nick.
Let's get a not hand in.
Nick, you know how to unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You don't want to buy a gun, do you, Nick? The last person behind a steering wheel was on the way buying a gun or something.
No.
You're not coming to my location, are you?
I wanted to. Oh, no. I wanted to earlier. Hey, I didn't have a question. I just want to say I miss you, Paul, and Amelia, Mike, Keith. Good to see you again. I did plan on being here. I'm working more than ever right now, unfortunately. But I'm going to try to come Wednesday night if you're going to have it at your house.
Well, we'll have a session, yeah, another Zoom.
Right on. Yeah, I gave up on questions, you know, a couple years ago and starved the questioner.
Yes.
You know. But just an observation, it's pretty cool how this, you kind of mentioned in the last YouTube you put up of the last Zoom, how it's a good opportunity to see the failedness of the system. You know, you can personally see the failedness of reliance on self, but we're kind of seeing the failedness on reliance of the supply chain and, you know, kind of culture and society as usual. And, you know, it obviously wasn't set up for something like this to an extent, but there's a lot of suffering and a lot of pain, and some of it's unnecessary, unfortunately, but, you know, it is what it is. And it's just kind of you kept saying the word opportunity last time, and I really appreciate that. I see it as yet another great opportunity to see the failedness of the system and see what remains, you know.
Yeah.
A whole lot of seeing of what I'm not, seeing of what we're not, and, you know, there's still some peace and rest from there.
Yeah. Yes. Well, good, bro. We're happy to have you. I'm always happy to see you.
Yeah, you too, man. I hope if you're planning on having Wednesday night, I hope I can come by and I'll have my 6 foot.
Yeah, we're gonna have those hermetically sealed uniforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be in my nuclear reactor suit.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
People are
Hey,
invading
Sharon,
my space. What?
Good to connect, guys. Thank you.
All right,
I'm
Jay.
back on mute. Enjoy the show.
Joyce. I mean Sharon.
Well, Sharon.
I wanted to thank Nick for working, for being out there, busting your ass.
No problem. Yeah, everyone over 65 has had to stay home, so I'm covering their work plus my usual work. So.
Oh, that's nice of you. Yes,
Yeah.
thank
And
you.
hand sanitizing like.
Why
crazy.
were you? You should have been here earlier.
I know. I was working. I'm actually, don't
you-
tell anyone. Shh, I'm working right now.
All right. All right.
All right, guys.
Bye. Okay.
Bye.
Shelly has her hand up. Shelly, you know how to unmute?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I had a couple questions. One was like, so I'm understanding like the verbing, and then how does it become a noun? Is it like a mechanism in the brain, or like how do you,
It doesn't become a noun.
or seems to, or that's created like from,
It implies that there is a noun already, yeah. It's a tricky maneuver. So let's say there's the verbing, selfing, yes? And then there's an assumption that there's a self. And then the self is presupposed to be before the selfing, before seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, because it believes it's the seer, the hearer, the feeler, the taster, the toucher, yes? But what happens is it does this every second, yeah? But when it seems to do it, you feel like the historical doer. Yeah, it's a trick. So its way of like squatting on the I am is I was Paul, right? Memory and all like that. You're pictured as a body. I will be Paul, and therefore I am Paul. You see? It doesn't start at I am Paul. It goes to the past and the future to arrive at it. So it's a product. It's made, it's produced, yeah? It needs the flavor of the past, the flavor of the future to produce the sense of you now. And so every time there's a doing, it's lazily implying that you're the historical doer. Yeah? So all day, let's say, there's lots of different scenes and things I see, but all of them attribute to one seer. Yeah? That's the bondage of self. The bondage of self is an activity of claiming, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, thinking, doing. Yes? Yeah.
how does that happen? Is it like
Upgrading.
just something,
Upgrade.
Yeah.
something that happens in the brain, or?
I don't know. I would say it's just an activity in the mental state. I don't really care how it happens. I just want to see it happening. Yeah, I hit that for a while. Are you there?
Yeah, can you still hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. I want to see it. See, the one quality that's untouched by everything is the seeing, yeah? And it
Right.
doesn't take any time to see it.
Yeah.
The seeing, like the solution, when it demonstrates here, always has like a timeless quality to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like whenever I listen to, like, I watch your videos almost every day, or I listen to something, and then it always is like, well, of course, it's so obvious, and then there seems to be a forgetting of it or whatever. And then
There seems to be, yes. But they will get shorter and shorter also. Because actually, the shortness is derived by, there'll be a lessening of believing in it, yeah? Yeah?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The believing is how it extends in time, yeah? It's
Right.
a trip, yeah. I've watched it, I've seen it, you know? I used to do a lot of 10-day retreats on cocaine and just really fried out. I didn't make anything of all that information that was downloaded, but in a future time, it became very valuable, yeah? Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just so you guys know that
there we are.
They say that there's a 40-minute time limit, and we're trying to follow an upgrade link. So I don't know if this.
It's
might-
working.
If it
So I
might,
should continue, yeah.
okay, so
Is that the-
if it cuts off, maybe we'll try coming back.
Cuts off, it wasn't because of the last questioner. But I know you'll take it that way, yes.
Can I ask one more question
Yes.
for you? Do you still
For
experience
me.
like,
Anyone else? Yeah. All right.
do you still experience like resentment or blame or like shame? Or
If you have a few more questions, I would, yeah. I could experience all that stuff, but it's not me experiencing them. Yeah? The action figure is interactive. It projects and then it perceives. So it projects shit, and then it runs into the shit, and it perceives it as real. Yeah?
Okay.
but its race is, you know, its expiration date's like 90 years, you know. And after all the happening, there's even today, does it really feel like Friday happened?
I don't know what day it is today.
Yeah, today's Saturday, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
let's say it's Saturday for the example, yeah? So it's happening, but it's really like nothing ever happened, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because when you're in this happening, all the other happenings seem like they never happened. That's a clue, you know? That's what would they call that in a donut or something? It's a clue, yeah. Yeah. Any more questions?
Lee, you're up next.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good, you?
Good. So I have a question. Sometimes if I'll call it resting and being, I'm just being myself. There's no thought. I'm just being present. And it's quiet and peaceful. And then the voice comes up and tries to interpret or tell me what I'm feeling or what's going on. And it's immediately obvious that it's claiming to be me, but because it can't describe what was present because thoughts weren't present when I was just being present. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I could be looking at a tree and I'm just being present with the tree, and then the voice comes up to tell me what's going on. And I realize I've been spending the last 60 years listening to this voice describe what's going on in life instead of just allowing me to live it for myself.
All right, so there's the positioning of the horse and the cart. So before, the cart, which is the interpretation of what's happening, was first, and the horse was put after, yes? So this is what happens. Interest and attention shifts from the cart, the interpretation and the narration, and goes to the horse, yeah? So now you're more in sync, let's say, with the aliveness, yeah, than the narration of being alive. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's traveling lighter. That's basically, if you could put it as a linear like timeline, that's traveling lighter. Yeah? You lose interest in the narration and you gain interest, yes, in living. Yeah? So if someone asks me how I'm feeling, I haven't checked in quite a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not like I don't have a surveillance team checking in on my heartbeat, my blood pressure, you know, keep me, you know, up to the minute. You lose interest in all that, and you're here, and you're available to the birds and to the fucking water fountain and into the light coming through the window and into all these little squares and people in them and all like that. And now you're basically available, yes? And when you're available, you're present, yes? And when you're present, you're of service, yeah?
99% of the time when I hear the narrator, I believe that's me thinking. It's only occasionally I realize.
No, see, it believes that it's you thinking.
Oh, well, then I'm getting confused.
Yes. It believes that it's you thinking. See, it's again, see, you see it one, but you don't see how it's insinuating it's the other one. Yeah?
Yes,
see,
absolutely.
You have to realize when you catch the thief, the policeman is also the thief. Yeah? That's why we do the talks. The talks are more about warning. I'm sharing things that I ran into by just the simple idea of, hey, I'm a lion. Yeah? I was always confused why, if the assumption is true that the seeker is the sort, that we're lions and shit like that, I was amazed of how that was escaping us. And it seemed like it escaped us more easily when we were interested in being a lion. Yeah? And then you get to see the obscuring agent is exactly that which is assuming to be you. Yeah? So when it gets caught, it assumes to be a more subtle you catching the cruder you. Yeah? Neither of them are you. So what's believing it's you is not you. What's believing it's you is the system of you. Yes? It's not you. You're untouched. In a sense, to you, none of this has ever happened. Yes? Yeah. It's like here, let's say there's a screen here. There's the movie of Paul, and then there'd be Paul, a little 1x1 little square. A lot of people, the Paul is huge, and the living is small. Yeah? So the attention is on the cart instead of the horse. Now, the problem here is when there's a noticing of that which says it's you can't move the attention off the cart to the horse. That's more cart. Yeah? So the awakening is a rude awakening. You realize that at the same moment, the obscuring agent can't be used to be the unobscuring agent. Yeah? You just see that it's a failed system. And then you're holding up all these chips, all these dominoes. Suddenly they go, and then they get built up differently. That's all. And then you, as this experience, observe shit. Yeah? And then you express stuff like traveling lighter. And you observe like the truth in some of these cryptic sayings, like it's a gateless gate. It's an open secret. You know, the seeker is the sought. What's looking is what you're looking for. Whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving. You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Take it, the Pro upgrade. What is this? It's going to cost us a lot. Put it on. Let's go all the way.
But that ended it.
That ended it?
Yeah. So I don't know if we can just start again with the same ID.
Well, that was good.
Go back to the link and hit on it again.
Upgrade Zoom. Remove the 40-10 line when you host future meetings. So that's not going to help with this one.
How much did we do?
So what happens if I go? Don't watch. Yeah, it probably went past that. Well, we're waiting. Let's see if this. I don't know if this will work or not. Let's try.
Hey, Keith, can you get on there? Just let the people know.
Are they still on? Yeah, are they still hanging there?
Yeah, there they are.
Join computer with audio.
Let me get if they're ready.
Okay.
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, it's.
We had a little pause.
That was the 40-minute time limit, but they let us restart it. So
where were we? Where were we at the time?
Forward to my professional version of Zoom, $14.99 a month. So
yeah,
I'll call you later
today. Yeah, he'll be doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We're just starting. You know, this is Zen Bitch Slap.
We can all use a pause once in a while.
Exactly. Interruption.
We could use some organization once in a while. Mike does all the work. Mike,
that explains why this is happening.
No, the only reason why this is happening is because of Mike. Yeah. Good. So, who was what question was that?
And Gary, they still show hands. So, that's right. So, who were we? Les was the last one.
You were talking about the dominoes rising and then falling.
Oh yeah, the dominoes rising and falling, but they get rearranged. But when you observe the rearranging, it's super clear you had nothing to do with it. It's such a great relief. Yeah. I wish I could bottle it. You really get that thing we talk about in recovery. You suddenly realize that something, or I would say nothing, is doing for you what you can't do for yourself. And so it brings about a certain humility because the mental arm can't reach far enough to be behind it and say it's the doer of it. Yes? It's so beautiful. Really. Yeah.
So Gary C is the next one.
My turn.
We hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Paul. I just discovered your talks a few months ago. I came at it from the recovery side of things, and I just recently read your book, Under Arrest. And anyway, what I wanted to, the question I'm having is, in all of the recovery meetings I go to, there's often almost always an introduction period where people say, "Hi, I'm Gary, I'm an addict." And I feel like we're getting off on the wrong foot right away. And I just wondered what you thought about that.
To me, the words don't mean much to me anymore. And, you know, when in Rome, you do as the Romans do. But if you want to bypass that for yourself, just say you're a grateful member of recovery. Yeah, so you're not announcing or pronouncing that you're an alcoholic or an addict. Yeah. But it's a tradition. It doesn't change anything really, in my experience. So, but I know a lot of people have trouble with it. Yeah. But I don't have any trouble with it.
It's just the way they speak in that country.
Yeah, well, you know, the problem with AA, like everything else, there's people in it, you know? That's a dilemma. AA would be perfect without us. It's such a beautiful thing. It's withstood us for 85 years. Most shit can't withstand us. Look at some cults. They're done in 4 or 5 years. So AA's had an incredible, it has an incredible immune system to the virus of humans. So yeah, but I understand, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great if there was I guess that's as good as any, because it's more like, it's my investigation of the truth that matters, not what everybody's saying. But it feels like I'm locking myself in sometimes when I say, "Oh, I'm Gary, I'm an addict," and it's like, yeah, but that's not the whole truth. And I'd rather say it differently. I'd rather try to have.
Well, I'm a grateful member of recovery. It's a good one.
I'm a grateful member of recovery.
Yeah. They'll let you get by the uncomfortable beginnings, you know, salutations. Yeah.
I had a conversation with the IRS, and I tried to explain to them about my history as an addict and an alcoholic, and they didn't give a fuck.
That's right. The system.
It was like, oh, that's Caesar's world thing. You know?
The system. Yes. Sort of. There hasn't been a precedent set in the judicial system of non-self yet. No. You're going to go to jail. Yeah. Well, I seemingly killed that person. No, you really killed that person. Yeah.
Well, see, so a follow-up question. So we're going through the steps month by month, and so this is step 3, and next month is the step 4, starting to do the inventories. And
I'll give you a good answer. There's a lot of ways of looking at the inventory. The way I look at it is how did self defeat us? Yeah. Self meaning that's something other than us. Yeah. So that's a very nice way of looking at it. It's presented many ways, but there's a statement on page 64, being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. We will now look at selves, or its common manifestations. He separates self and us, yes? The real relief from alcoholism, the real stabilized relief, was when I saw it as a foreign installment or a pathogen, yes? As soon as I could see it as other, the possibility of being free from it became available. And it showed me I had been trying to be free as it since I've been 6 years old. So, yes, in our community, it's not in the book, there's a very profound statement, self can't get out of self. That came from observation. A lot of people tried to get out of themselves as themselves, and they realized it doesn't work. So see what's driving you crazy as something other than you, and then you'll see that you're not the you that's being driven crazy. And then there's a freedom from the you and then from the other you that thinks it's seeing the other you.
Hey, Paul, on that, can I ask you something real quick? Because this is going to come up tonight at this meeting I chair. But it's this conversation about instincts.
Yes.
And are instincts just the manifestation of the mental activity as far as you're concerned? Or how do you explain this?
Yeah, the instincts are the formats.
Show them to you.
The instincts are the formats. So let's say a crazy idea has been entertained that we're separate, long-lasting, independent things that cannot fulfill our own needs. We need a lot of needs fulfilled. They're not in us, yes? We have to go outside of ourselves to get certain things like shelter, food, clothing, sex, and stuff like that. Yeah? And we're encompassing this drive in time. So even though we have a lot of shit, it doesn't mean we're going to keep having a lot of shit. So like in recovery, they talk about the basic fear is you're afraid you're going to lose what you have or not get what you want. And that's on the instinctual level, really. Yeah. So on that level, as an action figure, the clearest way the action figure can live is by surrendering to some power greater than itself, yes? And to feel like it's directed and that it's going to be taken care of, that it's in good hands, because while it's relying on self, that self doesn't produce those assurances, yes? It may promise them, but it doesn't produce them. So the action figure and then the idea of what we are in two theaters almost. So as an action figure, it's, let's say, the quickest, most assured way is just to admit you're outmatched, yes? And bring in or ask for a power greater than you, the you that you're not, to come in and start directing you. Yeah? And if I follow those directions and I stay close to this power, and you can't be far from everywhere, I have an assurance that I'm going to be taken care of. So start acting like that, yeah?
So the instincts are just the other instructions.
The instincts are the manual, yes. They're that's like the interaction of the game board, yeah? You don't want to be in Baltic Place, you want to be on the boardwalk, yeah? Why? Because there's cushions on the seats, there's food, there's heating, so you're looking to take you're living to fulfill and sustain the comforts of a body, yeah? Yes.
The other thing I heard you say that I wanted to ask you about was you were talking about the St. Francis prayer.
Yes.
And you said something really interesting about how, you know, if you're a fearful person, you manifest a fearful personality, so you become a channel for that, as opposed to a channel for, you know, higher power or something else other than self. You know, let me be a channel of thy peace, and it's through self-forgetting that one finds oneself.
Yeah, it's through self-forgetting, yet self can't forget. Right? So it's really forgetting of self. Yeah? What produces self-forgetting is forgetting of self, not self.
I just don't, I keep searching for a mechanism.
Who does?
James. Oh, yeah, okay, there you go. Boom, who does? Just searching for the mech. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. One bad thought ruins a Hawaiian vacation, right? So.
Yes, we're not in Hawaii right now.
Art is up next.
Art?
What's going on, Paul?
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Hey, Art. Art from Dallas.
what's going on. Yeah, I'm in New Mexico now.
Oh, you're in New Mexico. A very good foosball player.
Yeah, I owe you.
Yeah, well, the champion is right here.
I know.
At least 10 yards away from me. Social distancing.
So, you know, I'm sitting there the other day, and I'm about 3 feet away from a mirror, and I'm looking at that image in the mirror. And I think what you say is pretty similar, because it was like, no matter how real that image looked, that thing in there could never know what was actually real 3 feet away from it. And when you say you can't know what you are from what you're not, I'm not that image in that mirror, but I am the one looking at that mirror. And so I can be the
Well,
thing.
you're not the one looking. You're looking.
You understand.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the thing is, it dawned on me, because I'm sitting there going, like, I can raise my arm, but that thing in that image in that mirror can't make me raise my arm. It can't do anything. It's totally dependent upon what I'm doing or what is coming through, what is flowing. And so that was a really succinct moment there. Like, it just snapped a lot of shit. Because it was just like, it was tangible. It wasn't like I was listening to anything. It just came alive. You know, listened to for like, 3 minutes ago or something. You know, always trying to get something for self instead of getting freedom from that self. And the way I get freedom from it is to know that's not what I am.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more on that type of thing? Because that's the thing I think that gets grokked the easiest. Because I think what happened is, I used to say I got to get freedom for me instead of freedom from me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think I just said it with the statement out of recovery, but, you know, when I saw that I was not this activity, this selfing, the possibility became available. It was already always there, but it wasn't available, which was I can be free from it. So the key had been broken, because while I was identified as self, I can't entertain being free from it. All my entertaining of freedom is as it, or for it, or through it, or by it, yes? That's how it limits our potentiality or our possibilities. It limits them severely. So first I had to see what I wasn't, and then the possibility of freedom from it. What everyone now, a lot of people are doing, they're entertaining possibilities of freedom as it, which are forms of bondage to self. So you have to see it first. You have to see I'm not that, and then bingo, you've hit the possibility of freedom, which is from it, And in fact, the possibility of freedom that seemed to be based from it is inherently available because you are never self. So it looks like it's conditioned on you have to see it as not you, but as soon as you see it as not you, it tells you it's always been available. So it was not conditioned on anything. It was holding on to the flimsiest little string, which is what you are is fooling itself. What you are finally sees that and says, hey, I'm not that. And now all the idea of freedom in the future based on vigilance and sacrifice and constant working is now an inherent freedom, because if your freedom is based on something, being based on from something, if that's from something doesn't exist, then your freedom is inherently available. It's always there. Why? So you start acting like that. You're chilled out. I mean, I may be jazzed up about eating or drinking or coffee, but I'm fucking totally chilled about liberation and stuff, because I've lost all interest in the need to be liberated, because that which that needs to be liberated isn't me. Self has a complete need to be liberated, and it can't liberate itself from itself. So it's the freedom is from the need to be liberated. Seriously, I have absolutely no interest in spirituality. None whatsoever. I don't, someone could be blazing light coming out of their eyes. I could care less. Those lights are going to dim. I like dog shit awareness much better. No one's valuing it. No one's commodifying it. It's just always available at all times right where you are. Yeah? You can't make much out of it. It's great. Yeah? I can't have a retreat on this. I can't. I'd be spending like 95% of the time at the retreat chilling out. I don't believe you have to hear an invitation 800 fucking times or chant the invitation. All I need is, you know, you get in a few times, see what happens, yeah? I don't think we need intensives. It's intense enough to live under a pandemic. Some people are trying to, you know, spending $300 to go on an intensive. Hey, Marin County is pretty intense. We're on lockdown. So I don't know. I've lost interest in this as a topic, but I like sharing about it. Yeah, but I don't read about it. I don't think about it. I don't do anything about it. Yeah.
So check it out. One more follow-up.
All right.
So when looking from what I am and seeing what I'm not,
I'm going to try to sell water. Icelandic.
well, that's worth more.
They're one of my sponsors. Icelandic water.
He's joking.
I'm joking. Oh, Coca-Cola.
You fill it with anything and they'll buy it.
All right, go ahead.
So when seeing what you're not from what you are, what I'm not, being on that side of what I'm not, can never know what I am.
Of course.
But that thing that is not, from seeing it from what I am, it is also what I am. Would you agree to that?
Well, of course, but not as what you're not.
Exactly. But see, I think what happens is some people hear that and they're like, well, hold on. If it's what I'm not and I'm seeing it from what I am, but if I see it from what I'm not, you get it?
Yes.
Now, that you said it the other day on a talk, maybe last Wednesday or so. That's like Buddhist emptiness. That's amazing. And I think with some people, that's like might be like seeing from what you are, that the appearance of what you're seeing, which is what you're not, from what you are, it is what you are.
Exactly, but see, the way you can't, there's a little bit of a rectangulation. So
Tell me about it.
you get this, you get an intimation of what you are by seeing what you're not. Yeah? Of course it is what you are, but the way you get the intimation isn't through one of the two trying to arrive at the other. It's seeing one of them as not being so. Yeah? That's the intimation. So there is, it's like a shot in pool. Yeah? Because I've met, when I was young, I met people that leaped right into describing what we are. Yeah? There is no world, there's this and that and this and that. Everyone got lost. Yeah? If you start telling people they're not a body, what's hearing it is a body identification. It doesn't go. When you start telling people all you are is consciousness, they're hearing it as the body. So you wanna look at that obscuring factor, question that, and then, yes, by seeing what I'm not, all there is what I am. But you don't get there by saying all there is what I am. Because there's an aspect of all there is that's obscuring itself by being identified as what it's not. So that's bingo. It's like, it's not bing, bing, it's bing, bing. Yeah? Yeah. I've seen people teach affirmatively. I think there's a flaw, F-L-A-W, in that approach. I think the arising of what we're not is so fast that when I'm chanting I'm not a body, it's reinforcing the idea that I'm a body doing it. Yeah? I saw it. I got caught in these things myself. I did it myself, but you know what I mean? The action figure. I was going on 3-day chants. I'm not a body. I'm not a body. The only thing that would do that is a body. It's the body that doesn't want to be a body. It's a self that doesn't want to be a self. You can't gain interest in trying to lose interest. It doesn't work. There's just got to be a loss of interest. Yeah. Is that all right, Art? Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good to see everyone.
Yeah, good to see you, Art. Yeah.
And Luca is up.
Luca. Oh, Luca.
You know how to unmute, Luca? Where's Luca?
Right, the second square with the hat on. Are you unmuted, Luca? He just raised his hand. This one right there.
Okay,
One below.
Oh.
All right, yeah.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, Paul.
Hey.
I just want to say, take the opportunity to say hi and thank you very much for, I wrote to you like about 3 years ago. I was like severely ill in bed for like a year and a half.
Yes.
Wow, you remember?
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay. And you sent me your phone number even, and I was like, at first you were like, I was asking you about, in terms of just pain and like physical manifestations, and you were like, just have a hot bath, which was amazing. And then you sent me your phone number at one point as well, and I was like, I thought I'll call you at some point when I have some energy. And then actually what happened in between that is that like someone sent me a video about non-duality. I'd never heard about it, and they were like, what do you think about this? And I wasn't very interested because I kind of burned out on spirituality like 20 years ago pretty badly. So, but then I had a little look, and through some suggestions I found your videos, and throughout that time, because I had some time, just like the pure and simple, the humor of it, and just that complete lack of self-importance, it just did help me a lot. Like it just, and what happened, like my problem at the time was like I wasn't able to sleep, and that was kind of like the thing that was going to help me get better, really. And because there wasn't any remedy for, I had a virus, not this one, but, and so there was a point where I was like thinking, why can I not get to that place where obviously sleeping is just natural, it's not something that has to be thought about or done or achieved in any way, or And then one day it was just like, it just became clear that there aren't two places. It's not like that place where sleep's going to come naturally and this place where I am and I'm not there or something, and it just completely collapsed. And I don't know, so I just wanted to tell you thank you, and that the humor, especially your humor, like the stories that you tell, the images of, I don't know, the porn theater with the all these various things, laughter in it is just incredible. Like there's no, like you say, you've lost interest in spirituality. It has that complete separation, right, where other things that I've come across just still have that tinge of the sort of holiness about it or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you know, we want to look good when we surrender on the cliff. We want it to have some kind of dramatic wallop, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make it and it's actually worked against me when it comes to being taken care of by my mass devotees. But you make it very familiar, yeah? So at first, they're buying me coffee. After a few months, I'm buying them lunch. You know? So as a business plan, it's pretty good to make it seem special and infrequent. But I like the idea of it being readily available at all times, and So it seems like an appropriate response to be nonchalant around it. Yeah.
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 I mean, I actually have I have moments where I've shared it with a friend, and they're actually, you know how people will quote funny lines in movies and things. So there's like quotes from your talks that we crack up about and stuff. So that's
Good. We're gonna do a special Christmas CD of all the comedic skits we've done.
Yeah.
We got a new one I want to share now. We'll run it by everybody.
Okay.
Years ago, we did
You need to put your shirt on.
years ago, we did I ran into I thought it was a parody on TV, but it was a 4-minute infomercial, and it was called Forever Lazy, and it was about adult onesies, yeah, and it came after this other product. They used to have the commercial, the other product. The commercial would be a lady struggling to find the remote on her couch because she had blankets. So they said, a blanket with sleeves, so you'll never lose the remote again. And so they were selling people blankets with sleeves, so to facilitate not losing the show, you know. So then they came up with another one called Forever Lazy, and they had these people in Barney suits. You ever see Barney, the purple dinosaur? It's like a onesie. It's like you wear a whole fleece outfit, and you can have boots also. It came with boots or not. And then they have them. There's a setting at a cocktail party, and these two people with these adult onesies are standing outside drinking wine, and then they go to a football tailgating party, and there they are, like any freaking person would ever go out in public with one of these on. Then they're showing them rooting at this football stadium, and they go, and when you have that special need, you know, having to go to the bathroom, there's an opening in the back, yeah? So you never have to take off the onesie. So this went on. So we made a joke about it, and what we did is the onesie would have a new addition, and it would, when the person died, it would just zip her up into a body bag. And then you call Forever Lazy, they come and pick up the body. Like that.
If I might have had one of those, I never would have ever gotten out of it. Forever Lazy.
The Forever Lazy. And in this infomercial, they say Forever Lazy like 90 times. Lazy, lazy. It was incredible. So, yes.
They make them appropriate for business as well. They make them in like a nice tweed gray.
Body bags, yeah. They extinguish at the office. They just zipper them up, get the sub in, yeah.
We've got hands up for Steve and Nick, and we're getting a notice again, so if we cut out, we
All
might
right,
come back.
Steve,
But
let's
Steve,
go.
go ahead, Steve.
Who are these two in the dark over there? Huh?
They don't have their books.
Yeah, I'm in the dark. I didn't get the video package this time.
All right, so Steve, Germany.
Yeah, I don't have any questions about the message. I just have a lot of gratitude for the MP3s that keep me going through the day. I wanted to make a donation, but I don't have PayPal. So
yeah, we
maybe
got
I
to do
can send
something
you an
about that.
email. We spoke last year on the email. Maybe I could send you an email and you can let me know if I could just...
Yeah, we just signed up for Vimo. You know Vimo?
Oh, Christ.
Venmo? Oh, just sign. We'll talk to you. We'll talk.
Does he have your...
Okay, thanks a lot, Paul.
Yeah, send me an email. We'll talk about it. Thank you. Thanks for the sentiment.
Yeah, no, that has to be fixed. More
thanks,
options.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And
There
Nick.
should be more people like Steve.
Yeah. Nick is up. Nick is up. Nick's not hand is up.
Paul, I just wanted to say you were saying that people don't buy you coffee anymore.
Yeah, I know, huh?
I was embellishing a story. Go back to work. Go back to work. Don't accept any more from him. You're just sitting in the car. You're not working.
How much work is involved in this? There's no work.
Get away. Get 6-yard distancing.
On the theme of comedy, I wanted to put a quarter in the Paul jukebox and see if you tell a story about the Persian rugs and the apple juice.
Oh, the Persian rugs, yes. Everyone hear that one? No? Oh, this is a pretty good one, too.
Yes.
This is a pretty good one. So when I went over to Turkey, I was on a long trip, so I was going around the world. I went over to Turkey, and I was with some people from the guest house. We were walking around Istanbul, and there's an area called where the Blue Mosque is, and this famous place, the Sophia or something. So this guy with a very nice suit with gray-black hair, like a sharkskin suit, came and asked to show us around. He seemed all right. I was cynical, you know, but he showed us everywhere. And then he brought us to this wall. There's a door in it, opened the door, and a guy looking just like him came out. We never saw the first guy. And the second guy brought us into an emporium, a rug emporium. And so they said, what's your name? I go, Paul. They go, Mr. Paul, do you want Turkish coffee, apple juice? I said, I'll have apple juice. So they brought us in, and they put on this incredible show, like twirling the rugs, beautiful things. And there was like 9 like clones of these guys. And you could stay there for hours, and they just re-up your apple juice. And so I was drinking it and everything. And the thing is, I had a total immunity because I didn't have a house. So I had no floor, right? F-L-O-O-R. So obviously I wasn't interested in a rug. No matter how beautiful it was, I had an immunity to the advertisement because I had no floor. So after they started saying, well, Mr. Paul, what do you think? I said, I don't live anywhere. So they said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Thailand. He says, we can fold it up and put it in your knapsack. I said, I'm not taking a fucking Turkish rug to Thailand. And so they went on. And this is the idea of the message, you see? You have an self is not going to have an immunity to selfing. Yeah? The immunity to selfing is seeing you're not self. Yes? The immunity isn't something that's procured or acquired or realized. It's from all that, yeah? You have no interest in it. Yeah? So, yeah. That's it, I think, for the day. Yes?
Just because Melanie still had her hand up, you want to just...
Oh, yeah, one
quick,
more.
Melanie?
1 or 2 more.
Just Melanie's hand was up.
Melanie?
Hi.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm here. Do you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, she's down here.
I hear you, yes. Oh, here, yes. Hello,
okay.
Melanie.
Okay. Hi.
Hey.
I have the same feelings there. I just yesterday when I for some reason decided to listen to you again because I just keep kicking you out. But you keep coming back on the YouTubes, and I just wanted to.
That's called stalking.
I just wasn't. I couldn't hear the message. I couldn't. It was like I was confused. It was just confusion here. And yesterday when I listened to it, it was just like, thank you so much.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you very, very much.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a while. But we're in it for the long haul.
Just the gift that you keep giving is incredible.
Well, I'm receiving the gift of myself. So, yeah. Yeah, I think I have a faith in the message, and I feel like you just allow it in and then observe what happens. And if it's working, let it work. Yeah. It doesn't have to be re-upped or restarted. Just all it needs to be is honored a little. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Melanie. Thank you. Yeah. One more, I guess.
Just a little joke. Just to add to it, I did gift to you yesterday, but it was with Canadian funds.
Oh yeah, thank you. I know.
It's a Canadian joke because you guys cost us too much to send American money.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, okay.
But it's the intention that counts. Yeah.
Okay.
One more?
Any burning desire, or is that
Who are
appropriate?
these two folks here? I never see those two.
Tarek?
Tarek?
No, Tarek.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi,
how's it going?
Good. You're in a...
We're listening from Egypt.
Oh, from Egypt. Oh, good.
Yeah. We've been watching your videos for a really long time, and I also really appreciate your message. It's been amazing, and the traveling lighter has definitely been happening, and
Great.
just been trying to honor it, like you said, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Yes, makes my day. I think this one here.
That's
This
still
guy?
not, that was just, oh, that's art. Isn't that art?
Oh, that's art again. We know more art. No more art. Let's do one more.
Anybody
Someone
else?
new. How you doing, Dave, up there? All right?
How you doing?
Good. All's
Yeah,
well?
good. Yeah, it's all right, mate. It's what is it? It's 10 o'clock at night here in Yorkshire. So it's just really good to speak to you. I've just watched you on YouTube for a long time, and I've always wanted to get across there and come to one of your meetings on recovery or non-duality. So I'm just really good to touch base and keep doing it. You know, I just love it.
Hey, listen,
It's like-
Dave, too. Let me throw in. We're going to do an a recovery thing also. So take a look at the website. We'll have it posted, but we're going to be doing it, I hope, once a week also, a Zoom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And for those who
Yeah,
don't
that's
know that,
awesome.
sorry.
Because I love, the steps and the fellowships really saved my life, and it just seems to have progressed on this last couple of years with the non-duality somehow.
Yes.
It's just gone mental, you know, and it's just great, and I feel so much peace at the moment, just watching what's going on and all this insanity that's going on here, like I'm sure it's going on over there, and the supermarkets being raided and the Walking Dead going every fucking where, but I'm just living in.
Hey, can you answer one thing? I have a question to anybody here. All right?
Yeah.
What about the toilet paper?
Yeah.
Why is everybody buying so much toilet paper?
Less than 1 minute in the meeting, I think.
We'll end on with that. That's the koan.
For anybody that doesn't know, there's a recovery book on the website that is really great for anybody.
Oh yeah, I have tons of it, and if you wanna donate, we do PayPal, but we're gonna have
We'll do a donation
Venmo.
tab. We're going to do a donation tab on the website that will have all the possibilities and any suggestions.
And also, yeah, just keep up. We want to do, as much as we can.
Done.
Can you hear me?
I think that's it.
All right.
Anybody there?